This is the Anker SOLIX C800 Plus, and it might be the newest addition to my camping setup. But I gotta do some tests first to make sure to keep up to what I'm gonna put it through. So let's hop into this video. If you're like me, you like to nerd out on specs a little bit, and luckily there's a ton of specs to go over. Coming at just under 800 watt hours, this packs a punch of 768 watt hours. That's plenty of power to get you through your weekend camping trip. Packing all that power in this box, it actually isn't big and bulky either, and only weighs about 20 pounds. So you can easily move it around with one hand and throw it anywhere you need to throw it. Looking up at the front of the Anker, it has a ton of ports to go over. It has 5 AC ports that support up to 1200 watts, and it also has a little feature that lets you go past that 1200 watt threshold for a short period of time if you've got something that packs a big hit. There's also a ton of USB ports for charging devices built into this as well, which is great if you don't like carrying around adapters like me. There are 2 USB-C ports up here, one packing a 30 watt port and the other one is a 100 watt port. At 100 watts via USB-C, that's enough power to charge up a laptop if you have one that takes USB-C power. I love to see units like this that are packing a lot of power in these USB-C ports. There's also 2 USB ports up here as well, and these are actually 12 watts. I really like to see that because usually when people are rocking these older USB ports, they're low wattage, around 5 to 3 watts, which charges things very slowly, so even if you go to use them, it doesn't work very well. So seeing these at 12 watts makes me extremely happy. Good job, Anker. Then up the front here, there's a 12 volt DC output right here, and that's rated at 120 watts at 10 amps. I would like to see it rated a little bit higher because 120 watts is a little bit lacking for some of my use cases. For example, running a diesel heater, I'm using about 178 watts to run a diesel heater. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use this port to run my diesel heater, which does limit me on the capacity of what I can use it for in my camping setup because I like to do winter camping with a diesel heater. I'm not going to talk about charging times just yet. I did a bunch of tests on that and we'll talk about that then. But I do want to talk about some of the cool features that this specific power station has that I haven't seen any others have yet. One of the cool features this power station has is this light up front here. I have seen others in the past have this with a couple different settings here. Very convenient for having power in a general area. But this power station actually comes with more than one light. Let me pop this lid right here and we have access to two lights. These are combo lights that actually charge inside that lid right there. And you got a normal light like that, a candle light, and then a warmer candle light, and you can set them around your campsite like that. These are fantastic, and I did a lot of testing on how long these last, but we'll talk about that in the test. But I wanted to mention how awesome these are. But the lights aren't the coolest thing this power station comes with. It also has this mount here. Now you'd think, this is a combo mount with a magnetic top here. So you can just grab the light here and it magnetizes right to that, and you're able to point this light. Now you're thinking, this looks a little bit goofy. How would I use this? Well, let me show you, because it doesn't stop there. Give me one second here. Go like this. Well, let me pull it apart. Go like this. And it's also a selfie stick. Again, you're thinking, how does this help me on my camping trips? But now you can take this light, screw it into the top of this, like so. Now you can point this light wherever you need to see. So if you're out cutting wood or you're setting up a tent, you have light now in any direction you want it. And if you're a solo camper like a lot of people, you don't have somebody to hold a light when you're out in the woods. This will let you aim a light wherever you need to work, and you're not going to be bothering somebody with holding a flashlight. I'm a big fan of this. At first, I was on the fence. I thought it was a little bit goofy, but after I started using it on my camping trips, I realized how awesome this is. But the mount has a few other uses. You're able to mount a couple different devices to that. You can mount my GoPro to it and my full-size camera. So now I have a tripod with me at all times for when I'm making content. Then everything packs down into the top of the box here. But if you look at the back of the flashlights, there's these golden pins. These are actually the charging ports. So you don't have to worry about plugging these in. You just set them in the lid here and they are charging. They don't overcharge. They sit there and make sure they're fully charged. So anytime you're on a camping trip, if you're like me, I'm always having dead flashlights or forgetting my flashlights. Now I'm always going to have a charged flashlight when I'm out on a trip, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm a big fan of that because I'm going to tell you guys what, I am always out of batteries in my flashlights, and I'm stuck walking around with my cell phone, and the cell phone flashlight does not work very well. Then you just close it up, snap it down, and you're good to go. Now into the meat and potatoes of this video, which everybody likes, well, if you're like me, the testing. But before I hop into testing, I do want to say thank you to Anker for only providing a charging cord to charge this device with, rather than a giant power brick. I love to see this. It takes up less space, and it's just easier to deal with. But into the charging specs, If you use that cord plugged into the wall, you're going to get 750 watts into this. You can get on the app and change that to do ultra fast charging. I don't recommend this because it isn't very good on the battery, but if you're in an emergency, you need to charge it up fast, you can. But this method is 1100 watts. That is a lot of power going into this little guy. You can also charge this via DC and solar. You can provide up to 300 watts of solar power into this as well, but you cannot combo charge. I know some units you can combo charge. You cannot do this on this one. It's either AC charging or DC charging. They claim 0 to 100% charge in 58 minutes. I'm going to test that myself because I'm not sure what charge setting they use to come up with that number, but we're going to test it. I'm going to be running a handful of tests on this unit, one to make sure there's no issues, and two to make sure the claims are up to spec. So one of the tests I'm going to be running is just a general what can this run and what can't this run. In this test, I'm just going to be plugging in a bunch of things into this and just be testing this out over a week. See if anything I plug into the power station is going to break it. The next test I'm going to run is a flashlight test. I'm going to be testing to see how long these flashlights last on a single charge at the highest brightness. On my camping trips, I'm up late at night and I like to have light. So I want to make sure these flashlights are going to be up to the test of an all-night camping trip. The next test is going to be a test on how long this lasts. I'm going to be plugging in my entire home office into this power station to see how long I can last without having power at my house. This is a very specific test to what my needs are, but this is how I'm going to be using the box in a case of emergency, so I'd like to know how long it'll last. And the final test here is going to be how long it takes this unit to charge up. I would like to see if Anker's claims are true. I do this with all the power station reviews I've done on the channel, so we're going to do it on this one as well. At 1 hour and 40 minutes on the flashlight test, we use 1 bar of power of the flashlights. At 4 hours, we have used 2 bars of power at this point, and at 6 hours, we were at 3. I continued to run this test until 8 hours, and that's when they finally died. 8 hours of battery life at the highest setting was pretty impressive to me, and you can't really ask much more out of flashlights because you're not going to be in the dark much longer than 8 hours, I would say. After my test of plugging a bunch of things into this power station over a week, I ran a toaster, a coffee pot, all my computer equipment, charging laptops. The only thing I ran into that this can't run is my diesel heater, and that's because that DC output is only rated at 120 watts. I would have liked to see that rated a little bit higher just so I could use this to also run my diesel heater. And then I would be able to only carry 1 battery system in my truck. So into the home office test. Now we got everything plugged into the Anker down there. That's 2 laptops, my lights, the Wi-Fi, everything is plugged in, running off the Anker. Nothing is plugged into the wall anymore. And we're going to see how long it can run. Let's run this test. It will fluctuate with how much load my gaming laptop is going to be pulling. So it's not going to be a set wattage, but we're going to go ahead and check to see what the wattage pull is on the Anker right now. So the current load right now with everything plugged in is about 160 watts. Now, as my computer ramps up, or both computers ramp up, this will go up. Yeah, you see how that does happen. I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on this, see how long we can run my entire work from home setup. Should be pretty interesting. I was able to run my entire home office for 3 hours and 51 minutes. That's pretty impressive, seeing how the normal power outage where I live is only about an hour max. So I feel confident that the Anker SOLIX C800 Plus will be able to run my home office with no issues. Into the charge test, I used the base settings directly out of the box, so I did not get on the app and change the charge settings. I went from 0 to 100% in an hour and 25 minutes. So this seems the charge rating that this is claiming is using that higher output charge at 1100 watts, not the base out of box at 750 watts. All right, guys, into my final thoughts on the Anker SOLIX C800 Plus. I think this is a perfect power station for your weekend camping trips. With 768 watt hour of power, I don't realistically see you using more than that on a weekend trip unless you're doing something crazy like running a hair dryer. And with the added fact that you and the family can load this up, have the flashlights already charged up, ready to go, that's one less thing you're going to be able to forget on your camping trip, and that's a big plus for me. If you're like me and you're always forgetting stuff on camping trips, having one less thing to forget is awesome. Not to mention, you can pair this power station with their solar panel and be able to go out on longer trips and be able to provide power for even longer. This is going to be my main power solution moving forward on camping trips out of the truck. I love the compact size of this to be able to take up as little room in the back of the truck as I can, and having these flashlights always with me and charge is a big plus, so now I don't have to forget having a light. This Anker SOLIX C800 Plus gets a 9 out of 10 in my book, and the reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is because of these 2 things that I wish it had. The one thing I wish it has was a higher DC output rating on that car socket outlet. I wish it was a little bit higher to run my diesel heater. And the second thing is this right here. The charging port here is exposed and there's no cover for that. Now I'm sure they have protections to make sure water won't damage anything if that gets wet, but I would like to see them have a protective cover on that just so I don't have to worry about it ever getting wet when I'm out on my camping trips. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It means a ton to me. Also, check out the Anker SOLIX C800 Plus if you're looking for a power station. It'll be released in March. I will see you guys in the next one. Check this video out right here. It's pretty good, and I'll see you later.